Welcome everyone to Love and Pod, episode 4. I am your host, Lady Zeon the Double Fang, and with me is my co-host as always, Kai, the non-binary typhoon. Say hello, Kai.
Hello! Got a dramatic entrance, I like it.
Gotta hype them up at the very beginning. Gotta hook them in. So yeah, no, we're now 4 episodes into this show. I honestly don't have any notes to build off of last time. Do you?
No, I think we took care of everything we wanted to say last time. I don't think anything came up of that changes anything of what we said already about it.
Actually, I do have something. Okay, so I said last time that I was gonna look up who the writers and stuff have been for these episodes, like episode directors, yada yada yada. I tried to do that, and I can't find jack shit. I found, this person, directed, 2 episodes or wrote 2 episodes, but it's which episodes? I don't know. When I go to, the wikis and stuff, it's, unknown or to be announced, and I'm I know there are fucking credits on these episodes. What the fuck's happening? Because, I don't know, maybe I was spoiled by, the Dragon Ball fandom, where, they're, on this shit, where day of episode, here's, the episode director, here's the animation director, here's the writer, I've clearly been spoiled, because, the Trigun fandom, they're just yeah, that was a new episode of Trigun. It's no, I didn't know who the fuck, I can't read Japanese, damn it. Come back. I need someone to translate this shit.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I was gonna say, I know people who know some Japanese, but I was but they're not gonna be able to know, where a name ends and begins and stuff like that.
I could, with enough time, comb through all of the credits and figure out which ones are the writers and translate those names and then look up what they've done. But that's a lot of fucking effort on my part, an effort that my non-Japanese speaking ass is not gonna put in.
Yeah, it's being glued to the Japanese dictionary as well as the lettering system to figure out.
Yeah, no, it's just, hey, I have this list of all these kanji, because I know a little bit of katakana, because I've done some Duolingo, I know some things, I recognize some characters, I know the sounds they make.
I know some of these words.
Yeah, so yeah, that is frustrating because, as we've been over, the first 2 episodes were, we'll say, to be generous, a little messy. And then, the first half of episode 3, also a little messy. But then, it really picks up and it finds its footing. And then we get into this episode, which, I guess I'll just go ahead and start summarizing now so we can actually talk about it. Okay, so episode 4 is called Hungry! With exclamation points, that way you know they're really hungry. Which I think it's really funny given how the last episode title was shine bright in the darkness, blah blah, some bullshit, some artsy poetic bullshit, and then this was just hungry! Exclamation point.
Considering the character we meet in this episode, I think it's fitting.
Oh yeah, definitely. So the episode opens up with some guys out in the middle of the desert. Very desert punk-y, and they're eating bugs, but they seem to call all bugs worms, and that's gonna be a thing. So every time I say worms, picture flying bug things, because they seem to call everything worms. Anyhow, these 3 guys look out into the distance. They see a guy walking through the desert with a giant cross on his back, go to the intro, come back from the intro, and we get our main characters driving through the desert. Vash is passed out asleep in the back of the vehicle. Meryl and Roberto are listening to the news. They're talking about the incident in Janor Rock from previously. And part of the report is that now they are suspects or people of interest in this case. No one knows that who they are specifically, but they are also now worrying oh shit, if headquarters finds out, we are so goddamn fired. They also note how Vash has not eaten in days. Also, Roberto mansplains to Meryl about how worms are a good source of protein. And then Meryl, while kind of bickering with Roberto, hits the guy with the cross on his back with her vehicle. She loses her shit, runs out and checks on him. He's bleeding. He's knocked the fuck out. They, you're not gonna fucking die on me. Gets him in the vehicle. They drive out to what I'm guessing is a gas station, but it has a plant thing on it. So it's a plant station? I don't know if it's for refuel. Whatever. It is post-apocalyptic 7-Eleven. or Tom Thumb, depending on where you're listening to this podcast in.
I try to be like quiet while you're doing your thing, but that's just really cracked me up.
They go to the gas station thing, and there's some dead people inside, a man and a woman. Vash opens a locker, finds a scared child inside. Afterwards, the guy with the cross does a prayer for the two dead people. We find out that he's not a priest, he's an Undertaker. Also, he's a bit of a shyster because he charges them $20,000 for his shitty prayer services. And also, they comment on the big cross on his back, and he just is just like, yeah, no, it's part of my trade. Don't fucking touch it. Before anything else can really happen, a giant sandworm comes out, just graboid style, just this kaiju comes out of the ground and swallows them whole. Inside of the worm, the kid runs off. Everyone kind of splits up trying to find the kid, figure out what happened. Meryl finds the kid passed out, and then something attacks her. Elsewhere, there's a bit of bickering between Roberto, Vash, and Wolfwood. Wolfwood being the name of the guy that they hit with the vehicle. And, Roberto is just going on this thing about how, I think this guy's an assassin. He pulls out, a Derringer on him. Vash is like, whoa, I trust this dude. I see it in his eyes. Before they even realize it, Roberto's fucking gone. That was the happiest point in this show.
I had the same comment. I was like, good, stay gone. Now go find Meryl.
Fuck him. I hope he gets digested. Not long after, while being trapped inside the worm, they get ejected from it because it sneezes them out. They get propelled out into the desert. The worm comes back after them, consumes them again. Vash at very least, deliberately sticks around to be re-eaten because he wants to save Roberto and Meryl. And Wolfwood is just like, well, fuck it. I guess I'm gonna stick around with this asshole. They get re-consumed by the worm, and they immediately find the kid. The kid is there. Vash, is holding him, and Vash notices something weird. What's that odd mosquito humming noise? The kid jumps back and reveals himself to be the one controlling the worm, or all of the insects around them. This triggers a fight with Wolfwood firing at the kid, shooting holes in the worm. He unveils his giant cross, which is a giant goddamn gun. If you're familiar with Trigun, you know what's up.
It's very iconic to have this character calling himself a man of the cloth and then carrying a cross and then just kidding, it's a gun.
Yeah, no, as far as Trigun iconography, I would say more so than anything, Wolfwood's Punisher gun is the most piece, the strongest piece of iconography in the franchise. But yeah, he fires a hole. The kid has a bug crawl on his face and like a mask and flies him off. It's honestly really fucking cool. He triggers the worm's digestive tract and stomach acid dripping down. Wolfwood's just oh yeah, no, fuck this kid, you're not getting away. And spins his cross around, fires a laser beam and splits the giant worm in two and crashing it to the ground. The three guys who were in the desert earlier who were eating bugs are just woo!
They're just clapping. Their claps are so funny. I love them. I love those three guys. I don't know anything about them, but the way they're oh!
I can't tell if they were excited because Wolfwood, killed a giant worm in a single laser blast and it was super fucking cool to watch from their perspective, or because we're gonna eat for months.
I feel like they got caught up in they were rooting for them when they saw them get eat. You see them get spat out and the three guys are oh, run, you gotta run, they're watching a show or something. And so that's the vibe I got, was that they were just sticking around to see what was gonna happen with these guys who just let themselves get ate by the giant worm.
So yeah, after that, everyone's just kind of sitting there eating bug bits. Meryl and Roberto are now safe. Wolfwood's just kind of chatting it up with Meryl. Roberto is I don't fucking trust that guy, and I'm cynical. You should be more cynical too, Vash. And Vash is just nah. And then we cut to later in the night. Wolfwood is talking to the kid, who is Zazie the Beast. He and Wolfwood have some sort of affiliation. We learn that, like, this whole thing was planned up until this point, and then we cut to Knives, and we see all these dead plants. They're all red and glowing. We see, like, robots moving the tanks around, and discussion of, Vash not being able to use his gate other than for defensive purposes, and how he allows him to access a higher plane of, like, existence. And Knives just saying, we'll just have to pry it open. End of episode.
I love Knives.
Yeah, no, Knives is fucking great in the show. Oh my god.
Have you ever eaten insects before? Because I have. I prefer the mealworms, roasted mealworms with barbecue on them. But I've had crickets before too. Those are cool.
I have never eaten bugs. And I'm not going to sit there and go, ew, eating bugs, but I am going to kind of go, that looks like a texture I would fucking hate.
Nah, the texture of the crickets is the one I don't like. That's why I prefer the mealworms. Roasted mealworms, man. I just had to get that question out there because it was such a huge part of the episode.
Like, I knew it was going to be, like, a thing, because in the first act of the episode, like I said, Roberto had to mansplain to Meryl about how worms are a good source of protein. I fucking hate this man. I hate his entire fucking existence.
I am so sick of Meryl being, like, this news reporter, like, journalist who has the job. She has the job of being a journalist, which means she had to show skill and knowledge, and then she doesn't know anything about how this world works, apparently. I'm so sick of that.
Yeah, like, I'm so fucking tired of her, like, having to be the character and needs everything fucking explained to her. I get it, she's the young one of the team, but, like, they've even aged her up, because in the manga she's, like, 19. Then she's 23! Like, even if she's, like, a pampered kid in this world, like, who came from, like, a middle-class upbringing, like, you'd think that she has, like, some worldly goddamn knowledge. And, like, but no, she is just kind of like, ew, eating bugs. And so it's like, do you see the fucking hellscape you live in? And, like, I can never really tell, especially given how, like, the first episode treated her, where Roberto was constantly just mansplaining shit to her that she already knew, where I can't tell if she actually does not know certain things that are basic common knowledge in this world, or if she does know and Roberto's just an asshole. I like to think it's the latter, because it gives me more reasons to hate Roberto.
I think the core reason why I really don't like him is because his character is two things. One, alcoholic nihilism, and two, being the Pokédex of the series of, like, this is a worm. This is what it does. Like, this is a plant. A plant can do XYZ thing. It's really cool. Like, that's his character.
I would like him so much more if he were just a little, like, Scrimblow robot that hung out with them and just dispensed knowledge that nobody needed explaining to them.
You know what? I'm writing that down. That's a good concept for characters in the future for story writing. Like, to, like, help you, like...
If you were just, like, Gil, the little robot from Dragon Ball GT... Like if he were just that thing, just hanging around with them, but he was also a Pokédex instead of a Dragon Radar, and he just filled in lore bullshit.
That's actually not a bad writing idea to, like, that seems like a good way to get around awkward and unnecessary info dumps if you make it, like, a bit that, like, everybody is annoyed at this one random robot character who has some kind of malfunction or something and can't stop himself from over-explaining everything he sees. But no, instead we get Roberto.
Anything would be better than this character, because he is absolutely the worst part, because, like, his character adds nothing. He's just a reporter. Like, I'm so mad that this fucking dickhead replaced Millie.
Yeah.
Like, we lost Millie and we get this motherfucker? Are you serious?
I know early on I made the comment of, like, if Wolfwood and Roberto end up making sandwiches, I might forgive them. No, I'm getting less and less even if they did that. I'd be like, I don't even know if that would save it at this point. I really don't like Roberto. As funny as that would be, I really don't like Roberto.
Yeah, I did love when Wolfwood called him Uncle Downer.
Please. I just need I need somebody calling him out more on his bullshit.
And, like, it's really good that it's Wolfwood, because Wolfwood's supposed to be the nihilist of the team. Wolfwood's supposed to be that role, but he's supposed to have, like, all these character pathos that, like, flesh him out into, like, a compelling, interesting character.
He could be
with a lot of heart and warmth to him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of genuine care and, you know, love in him, but he's also, like, is nihilistic and, like, oh, the world sucks. I mean, I'm still gonna try to be nice to individuals, but the world fucking sucks and it's everyone out for themselves. But, you know, but he's also silly and fun. And meanwhile, Roberto's like, oh, I need another drink.
Yeah, I'm just gonna drink and smoke, and I'm gonna explain to you kids how it is.
Did you know Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 49? Just like, that's what I feel like at this point. He's just gonna start saying random bullshit.
Like, dude, can you just go retire, stay at home, and watch your Fox News? Fuck off. I hate Roberto so much. Like, I'm really because it's 4 episodes in now, and I'm like, he keeps getting worse as a character, because at first it's like, okay, he's just kind of annoying. Now he does absolutely nothing. Like, he adds no interesting, like, back and forth, because, like, you have Meryl, who is kind of like the grounded voice of reason, and you have now Wolfwood, who's the more cynical of the two. What the fuck does Roberto add? Oh, I'm even older and more cynical, or fuck off, bro. I hate you. Die already. Get space COVID. I don't...
Oh, man, that was... Yeah, I was genuinely, when Meryl disappeared and the kid disappeared, I was like, oh, wow, okay, we're having a horror movie situation, and it's like I know they're gonna get out of this, there's no way, but also, like, oh, I'm a little, like, nervous for them. And then Roberto's gone, and
no, it's just like, Meryl disappears, oh no! And then, like, Roberto disappears, oh yeah!
Glad we got to get our little bitch fit about Roberto out immediately.
Welcome. You know, this is the Love and Pod podcast, and this was your Fuck Roberto minute of the episode.
I love it. All right, so other than that, what you think of the episode as a whole?
I think it is pretty damn good. There's a lot of stuff that I'd actually messaged you. I'm like, I have so many things to say, because I was ready to pop off about this episode. But then by the end of the episode, things got recontextualized so much that I was like, I have far fewer things to say about this episode, because they hit Wolfwood. Oh, okay. They go to this plant station. Okay. And then a worm eats them? What? Like, it just, like, comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, okay, well, this kid is clearly gonna be Zazie the Beast. I've put that together. He's the only person I've seen running around this series with fucking pure white hair. He's evil. I was like, either this kid's Zazie the Beast, or he's gonna get possessed by one of the bugs and become Zazie the Beast. So, like, I put that together, and I'm like, okay, so we have Zazie the Beast, and we have Wolfwood. Alright, and then they get spat back out, and then they get re-eaten, and it's like, it's Zazie the Beast, and then, like, yeah, they kill the world. And I'm like, there was a lot of weird coincidental stuff happening in this episode, and I'm like, that's some bullshit. But then by the end of it, I'm like, Wolfwood and Zazie planned all this, and this is part of, like, Knives' bigger plan, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that all fits together. I can't...
Yeah.
No, this is actually a well-constructed episode. I have nothing to complain about in terms of plot progression and things happening, because it looks like it's going to be a sloppy mess of coincidences, and then, haha, we fooled you. We were only pretending to be stupid and poorly written. This time it was good.
That's my secret. Nothing is a coincidence in this episode.
Yeah, I was really surprised how many things just felt, because I was just, like, trying to, like, make sense of everything, and I'm like, oh, no, like, this was all planned with the kid and, like, you know, the parents being murdered who aren't really his parents. And it's just like, and honestly, I really love this take on Zazie the Beast. I still don't know if he's, like, bug hive mind possessed person, or if he is a person who is connected to the bugs, because they made it sound like the latter. So he seems like he's a weird middle ground between Zazie the Beast from the 90s cartoon and Zazie the Beast from the manga, which I'm fine with. Kind of splitting the difference if that's the route they're going. I fucking love when he has, like, the bug crawl on his face like a mask, and then the wings pop out and he flies off, and I'm just like,
that was a
okay, that
really
was
cool
really
visual to
fucking
really
cool.
help, like, to really sell the idea of, like, this kid's, like, name of Zazie the Beast is not for nothing. It's not just because he can control them. He's practically one with them, you know? And I really liked that visual to really help sell that idea.
And, okay, so we've talked about, like, the increased kind of power scale of this iteration of Trigun, and I think this goes even further by, like, Wolfwood's Punisher Cross has, like, a fucking, like, laser cannon that can split, like, a giant sandworm down the middle in one sweep. Holy fucking shit!
That animation with him, like, that animation of him, like, spinning that gun around and all that was so cool, too. I really liked that.
Honestly, like, I fucking dug that shit, too, and because that's, like, in the original manga, Wolfwood does a lot of cool using the momentum of his cross to his advantage. And so, like, seeing him flip the cross around and stuff, I was just like, oh shit, like, because in the 90s anime, he mostly would just kind of, like, hold it off to the side and just fire from it. The animation was pretty cheap. They didn't do anything super crazy. Here, like, they just go fucking nuts with it, and I thought it was cool as shit. And I love the panning shot, because it kept harkening back to, like, you keep turning your back on me. He's like, and yet you haven't fucking shot me.
I love that. I love that banter between Vash and Wolfwood.
There's so many good character moments. Oh my god, there's so many good quotes.
And that really does, that one line that you just brought up, too, is, like, it summarizes their relationship so, like, easily, like, right there, of, like, hey, why are you trusting me? It's like, because you haven't shown me why I shouldn't.
Yeah. It's just like, but we're in this dog-eat-dog hellscape. Yeah. And you haven't tried to eat me.
And you're not eating me. It's really good. Again, I'm gonna keep bringing it up. I love this anime for, like, and this franchise, I guess now, for how it treats pacifism. And so far, it's still getting the seal of approval from me of, like, yeah, it's a complicated, nuanced discussion, and Vash is willing to have it, but he's also stubborn.
Yeah.
And I love him for that.
Yeah, no, they're really doing, like, and I really like how they're building their relationship in this show. Like, it's different from before, but it's still good. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and insert my Trigun fan negative critique in the middle of all this, because it's a very small one. He calls him Needle Noggin, like how he does in the manga and the original anime. But he doesn't have spiky hair.
Yeah, I had that thought too. I was like, okay, I appreciate this. And I love the way he's like, okay, my name's Wolfwood, and my name's Vashta Stampede. It's a Needle Noggin. I really like that character moment, but it's like,
it doesn't make sense.
Again, we come back to the E.G. the Mind thing of, like, okay, but where's this name coming from?
Yeah.
His hair's not the super spiky, like, needles thing.
Like his hair's, like, a little spiky, but it's like he mostly has, like, teenage anime boy hair. Messy teenage anime boy hair is what Vash is rocking in this show. So, like, I don't associate that with being spiky at all.
Especially
he's not even, like, Cloud Strife spiky. He's just, like I said, like, he looks like he just kind of, like, woke up and then brushed his hair.
It's a small thing that's, like, I can see how that was missed, but it still, like, doesn't take away that it kind of bugs me a little, you know, of, like, I can sympathize with the writers of, like, missing that, of, like, okay, we gotta have him call him Needle Noggin, and it'll be great, and he just decides that, and nobody really, you know, can stop him from calling him that. And it's like, but did you think about why he called him Needle Noggin?
Yeah. Especially in the realm of anime, Vash's hair is particularly spiky. Anime is already a genre with characters with pretty spiky hair. Is there anything that makes his hair spiky? I don't fucking get it. Like, why he's being... Like, if this is your first time watching Trigun anything, and you're not familiar with his old design, it's just like, are you confused that, like, he's being called Needle Noggin?
Like, if I would put myself in, like, the shoes of someone who doesn't know that, like, where it actually, the nickname originated from, I would, like, run on the assumption that, oh, it's something that, like, Wolfwood has some, like, deeper meaning thinking that he's going on for, where it came from. And I say deeper, but it doesn't necessarily have to be super philosophical deep. It can be as simple as, like, your brain is full of needles or something like that, you know? So, like, I would have just, like, gone, okay, I don't get where that nickname came from, but maybe I'm supposed to feel that way, because Vash doesn't seem to get it either.
Yeah, like,
but knowing where it came from just leaves me like, okay, now you're under the spotlight now, writers. You got to explain this. Like,
because like I feel like it's just like, well, he has to call him Needle Noggin because that's what he called him before. It's like, we got to make the reference, but it's like you can't just change things and then shove in references to the original work if you change the things that you're referencing. Ah.
I know my big thing that I was like, the one thing I wanted to say that I was like, but even then, like, kind of like yours, it's like not that big of a deal. But it's the feeling of them playing their cards too early. But that's like all to me. I feel like that's just because I'm used to the 90s anime where Wolfwood, there was like no real, like, it was a big shocking reveal who he was and what was going on behind the scenes with him after time of spending time with everybody and the audience getting to love him and know him as just this crazy kooky guy who's on Vash's level of silliness hanging out. And then, whoops, sorry, it was all planned from the beginning, and he's actually, like, got this tormented stuff going on, and he's with the bad guys in a way and stuff. But, like, and I can't get my brain to, like, not, or I'm trying to think, like, I don't think it's bad what they're doing here, of just, like, letting the audience in on it, you know? It's the thing of, like, have the writing thing of a family eating dinner and suddenly there's an explosion and you get, like, a few minutes of shock versus if you put the bomb under the table and you show them the ticking time bomb, then you have tension.
Yeah.
You know?
I am fine with it because moving forward, you're always going to be aware that Wolfwood is against them in some way, shape, or form. And now you actually do have that tension moving forward. Where, what is he going to do? What is his role now? Like, it actually, like, if you're not familiar with the source material, like, if you're a fresh viewer, you now have, like, all of these questions, like, oh shit, is he going to be a recurring character? How, like, what is his plan moving forward? And if they're going to play Wolfwood the way he has been portrayed in other versions, they're probably going to have him hanging out with the main cast a whole bunch and teaming up. And you're going to be kind of like sitting on the edge because you have that knowledge.
It's like how much genuine relationships and how much is him playing it up for whatever end goal.
Yeah. And like the manga also kind of plays its cards a little early. Because they do the reveal of Wolfwood having connections to knives as early as like chapter, I want to say like 15 or so. And like Wolfwood hadn't been around a whole lot by that point. So like they established that connection and you see them like, okay, he clearly has involvement with knives, but also his connection to Vash feels very genuine. So where does his legitimate feelings begin and end, and where does his allegiances to knives begin and end? And you can question that as you're moving forward. Now, that's if the writers deliver on this potential. That's all up to them.
Yeah. I will say, too, I just had the realization that the fact that at the end of the episode, he's like, I'm going with you guys, like, as an audience member, because we know that there's something going on behind the scenes. That makes sense to us, whereas if we didn't know that he had some other connection to, like, knives and the other guys and some kind of ulterior motive, it would feel really random that he's just like, I'm going to travel with you guys now, as opposed to how the original anime just made it seem like he just crazy random happenstance would run into them, and then you later found out that, like, oh no, it was all on purpose. So yeah, I guess that's good too, because here he's like, I'm just straight up going to get in your car.
Something I really appreciate, because we talked about last episode, Vash had the line last episode of, like, I don't deserve to cry. And in this episode, like, yeah, we find out that he hasn't eaten in quite a while, like, since that event. And, like, Meryl's been worried about him. And then Wolfwood has that line to Zazie where he goes, no matter how heavy a cross you carry, you still deserve to eat, you still deserve to laugh. And at the end of the episode, Vash is eating, and Meryl lights up, and he's like, I still deserve to eat and laugh, don't I?
Yeah.
And it's like, that was a good moment. That made me feel. So I was like, oh.
It was so good. It was so good. Vash over here drinking that depresso espresso, and then Wolfwood says that, and he's like, "Okay, I'll take care of myself. I'll eat some food."
Yeah.
Like,
And
oh.
also talking about like Wolfwood's more nihilistic philosophy. It's like you only have one life. You fight for it no matter who you hurt in the process. That is once again like a very counter philosophical ideal to Vash. So we're already kind of getting this yin and yang between them where it's just like they fit together so well as like friends, but they do have very disparate ideologies.
And they're really good foils to each other.
They
in
are,
that sense.
unlike Roberto.
Yeah, and it's like Roberto's over here like, I'm gonna drink myself to death and be mad and angry and pissy at everything. Everything sucks. Whereas Wolfwood has an actual complex philosophy going on of you gotta put yourself first and protect yourself. And don't worry, like, if protecting yourself means hurting somebody else, then, that's just how it is. Dog eat dog. Like, that's an actual complex and really cool philosophy worth exploring deeper and having as a good foil to the idea of no matter what, I will not cause pain to others and I will try to stop pain.
There is a hole in the plot. Not a plot hole, but there is a hole in the plot of this episode where it's just like, you guys didn't fill this in. There's something missing from this story, and I'm curious if you picked up on what it was.
I'm trying to think, what's something that was like, I'm sure as soon as you say it, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, you're so right. But like, I can't.
Okay, so a big part of like the tension of this episode is that Meryl and Roberto go missing. They go back inside the worm to rescue them, and then we get the reveal of Zazie the Beast and Wolfwood shooting them open. After Zazie is like already triggered like the digestive system of the worm and like the stomach acid's like coming down and shit. We never fucking see Meryl or Roberto after they are kidnapped until the epilogue of the episode where they are all sitting there eating like fucking worm bits over a fucking fire. There's no establishment that these fucking characters are still alive or why they're alive.
You know what? They're both worm zombies now. They're not actually Meryl. It's all a trick. Meryl and Roberto died.
Like, boy, it's a really good thing that, like, wherever they were in the worm, that, like, the giant fucking spinning death laser didn't eviscerate them.
Oh my goodness.
Because the first time I watched it, I was eating dinner. So I was just like, maybe I just missed it. Maybe I kind of checked out for a moment and I missed it. So when I watched it the second time, I was taking my notes, like I do, and I'm like, okay, I must have missed, like, where they were in the shot. Like, they have to be in that scene after the Zazie reveal, right? Like, maybe I was looking down at my phone to, like, type out the notes and I missed it. So then I just go back and I rewatch the whole last bit of the episode, and nope, they are not there. They are somewhere in the worm, presumably. And Meryl even says, gee, thanks for saving us. I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. And fucking Roberto is just like, oh, so like his cross is a machine gun. That explains why it's so heavy, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because they weren't fucking there to see any of it. Oh my god, that's like how the hell do you write the tension point of your episode? Like the thing that they went back inside the worm for, and you don't even establish that these characters are still fucking alive.
Yeah, that's you know what? I'm saying it. We've said it every episode so far. I'm saying it again.
First draft syndrome.
That would have been caught if, you had a more in-depth editing stage, like somebody should have noticed that.
Like every episode.
There's something in every episode where you go, that's something that happens in a first draft that gets fixed in editing.
Yeah, because that's the thing that keeps frustrating me with these episodes in terms of the writing is that there's always like this big thing that is an integral element to the episode, whether it's the timer on the bombs in the first act of episode 3, or if it's just literally every single character motivation in episodes 1 and 2. There's always something. It's just like the driving force of the tension in the narrative. Something is always missing or just fucking wrong about it. And I've never seen a show where like every fucking episode I go, how did someone miss that?
I really think, like, this is my crazy, I guess you could call it a tinfoil hat theory, but it's not really it's not really a conspiracy thing, but it's like, I have very little to base this on. This is just what I think is going on. They're wanting to make sure, like, when they were setting up their schedule for how to time everything out, they wanted to make sure they had plenty of time for their animation, and then they ended up cutting into their writing time, and then we end up with, like, not as in-depth of editing because of it. And so that's how we keep getting awesome animation, like, especially certain sequences and scenes being, like, so good. Because it's like, I understand that, like, anime production is really tight on time. It's really messy. It's really tight on time. I feel like, to my understanding, they're starting to get better about that. But, like, just for the sake of argument, like, I can see that being the issue of they sacrifice time polishing the writing in order to polish the animation more.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to have your episode, you got to have it all written out and storyboarded and ready to go before you can start animating. That's my tinfoil hat theory of that's the where I think the artist might be coming from in this situation. I got nothing to base that on but personal experience.
Also, my second fuck Roberto minute of the episode. Roberto, like, just randomly accuses Wolfwood of, like, being an assassin, and, like, oh yeah, no, it's a trick.
Weird.
You know, they eat the first one to lure you into a false set security, and then they poison the second one. I've heard of people who can control worms, and I'm like, why the fuck are you jumping to this conclusion other than the fact that Zazie the Beast is the villain of this episode?
It was so weird. It was like
he makes everything worse in these episodes.
I just want an episode where he's mute, and I want to see if I'll like the episode as a whole better than the other one.
Can I get the episode where he, like, I don't know, gets hit in the face with a rock and his jaw's wired shut for the remaining 22 minutes of the fucking show? Like, I just...
Can we get that for the remaining 22 episodes of the show? I don't know how many episodes this show has.
No, I think this is going to be, like, a 13-episode show. But,
it feels like it. That's one of the things, like, when I was mentioning feeling like they're playing their cards a little early on a lot of reveals and stuff, I feel like it feels like it's a time thing of, like, okay, we got to introduce this character and start revealing stuff about them while still keeping an air of mystery, whereas the original anime was like 24 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they had
26.
more time to be silly, huh?
26.
Oh, okay, right. Oh god, I'm a fake Trigun fan. You gotta fire me, Zeon. I don't like Roberto. It's always bully Roberto hours in my house.
Yeah,
man.
I know. Fuck Roberto. All my homies hate Roberto. I can't stand him. He is the absolute worst part of every single episode. And now that Wolfwood's part of the main cast, his role is redundant.
Mm-hmm. I think we suggested that early on. We were like, what's Wolfwood gonna be like if we already have the more nihilistic character here?
And it's Wolfwood's the fucking same!
Because we knew Wolfwood was gonna be here. And so we're like, so you replaced a happy-go-lucky, super optimistic, and believes everyone's telling the truth all the time, Millie, with an old nihilistic alcoholic old man who just wants to sit here and spew out encyclopedic knowledge on everyone.
Like, I can only think that this is season 1. I said it before. I think this is season 1, and there's going to be another season. And season 2 are getting Millie. Like, Roberto's going to die. His old, shitty, cynical fucking death. They're probably going to try to play it as a tragedy. But I'm going to fucking, like, let go of my party poppers and go, yeah, fuck you! The prick is dead! Ding dong!
I feel like that, I genuinely do agree that that's, like, a possibility. Because it's, like, he really is getting played up as, like, he's absolutely he's been written as, like, a character of, I'm trying to think of how to word what I'm thinking here. Of, like, I've seen other shows and, like, stories in general where they have a character who's, like, the older, cynical, nihilistic character, and then by a certain story beat, that character, like, turns around and they have a big emotional death scene, and then the character who was considered their, like, protege or their successor or whatever, in this case it would be Meryl, steps up to take the leading role in whatever position they were doing,
Yeah, the successor. role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, because I've seen that kind of storyline take place, I wouldn't be surprised, actually. Like, I feel like you've got something that's a real possibility of something that would happen. We just cross our fingers and pray that that means Millie will come in if that does happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that scene from like, what the fuck is that shitty ass Christian propaganda film? God's Not Dead, where
Oh my god, don't get me.
like it's gonna be like that scene from God's Not Dead where Kevin Sorbo gets hit by a car, but instead of like his last words being "I believe in Jesus," he's gonna be like, "I believe in pacifism."
I'm gonna be over there like the freaking guys who were like eating the worms in the beginning of the episode, just clapping like, "Oh yay, Rivera's gone." Me, the pacifist, actively wishing death on this character.
Hey, speaking of those guys in this episode, like, was it just me or were they 2D animated? Because they didn't look CG and they were always shot at like a, because like they were actually like, you know, always, you know, isolated in a frame. So I'm just like, I didn't have CG characters to put them against, and I'm like, they looked like they were 2D animated and they were always shown at a very flat angle. So I'm like, I wonder they just didn't want to make character models because they were just like little bit characters.
If they did, that would be really impressive, because I think you might be right, but I wasn't, what if that is the case, they weren't different enough to stand out to me, of all people.
Because like, I mean, like the CG in this, it looks really good, and you only really like think about it being CG when like a positioning of an arm or something just looks weird because it's the model, or when they do some really crazy flippy shit with the cameras. But with these three dudes, the only shot that we actually see them in frame with the other characters is when they're all eating together at the end. And it's a really pulled out shot. And I'm like, okay, they distinctly do look different, but I don't know if it's just because like they're model, like maybe they are CG models, but like they're just not lit the same way, or because, you know, they're lower res or whatever, or if it's just they put in these 2D assets because they didn't want to fucking make whole new models for characters who were literally going to be in an episode for like a few seconds.
Right, which would make sense, because modeling characters, like even making character puppets and 2D stuff, which is something I do a lot, takes a frick ton of energy for just like basic stuff. So it would make sense, like if they knew that they could, blend the styles together, if they knew they could, I can absolutely see them doing that to save time, money, and everybody's energy. Especially now that I think about it, those guys didn't have any crazy motions or anything.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it again, because that I don't know. I don't know, actually. I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
I was too busy laughing at the way they were clapping.
Yeah. Because, like, I know the studio, because I've seen B-Stars, and B-Stars would occasionally, for, like, certain bits, integrate 2D animation if it just worked better for a scene. Like, maybe they couldn't get, like, the model to animate a certain way. It's like, oh, yeah, this makes sense that they would have done this in 2D animation. But the models look so good that, like, it's not jarring or weird when it happens.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of the thing here. Like, if these are 2D assets put into this episode, it was done very well. You didn't notice at all, and I didn't notice until the rewatch. And even now, I'm still not 100% certain.
Yeah, and like I said, like from the beginning, I can tell that the people, at least on this show, so I'm assuming the whole studio, I can tell this is being done by artists and by animators who know what they're doing and know their craft well. So if anybody would be able to pull it off, it would be these guys.
I just wish that the writing staff was as talented as the animators.
They're close. They're not awful. There's been worse.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to, stuff one character in a trash can and a lot of my problems would be solved, but,
God, like, I just want to know, like, I need, like, a fucking director or a creative consultant or someone on this show to like come out and talk about the reason they did this show the way they did. Like, what was the impetus to like do Trigun? Why reinvent Trigun? Why, like, do your own unique take? Why take one of like, the most beloved characters from the series and like jettison them into space and then replace them with a surly piece of shit that nobody fucking likes?
You know what I I just realized too is that, like, I know that from the first episode, I, would see artist friends and stuff and people that I knew from Trigun, like from the Trigun fandom, like sharing fan art and drawing fan art, and they're really excited. They're really excited and into the show, and like talking about it very positively. But I don't think I've ever seen them draw Roberto in all of this. During all of this, none of them have drawn him. None of the ones that I've seen on my radar. That's not to say there's not fan art of him, but I think that says something. That the posts that I'm seeing that talk about how much they really love this reinvention of Trigun, and they're having a lot of fun with this version of Vash and Wolfwood and Meryl, and nobody says anything. I haven't seen any fan art with Roberto. So it's like, even if it's on a subconscious level of, I want to draw for this show, and then you just don't draw the one character that you don't even realize you hate or something, Like,
right.
I just want to justify the bully Roberto hour, okay?
He deserves it. Fuck him. Because, like, I am not a fan of how this show kind of scrubs a lot of the iconography out of Trigun, but I do enjoy a lot of the redesigns. I don't like them as much as the originals, but honestly, I take that back. I really like Meryl's redesign. I think she's absolutely adorable.
She looks younger to me, and that's the thing, is that you're telling me she's 23 here where she was 19 in the original, and that's what's throwing me off right now. So she looks younger and acts a bit younger.
Yeah, no, like I feel like they write her as a younger character, and they designed her to look younger, but they made her older. And I just...
the design is good.
Because I remember, like, after the time jump, they actually tell you how old Meryl is, and then, like, I think either Millie breaks the fourth wall, or there's just, like, or the narrator does, to be like, that's right, Meryl was only 19 during the previous adventures. That's pretty much everything I've had to say. How about you, Kai?
That's pretty much all I had to say. Are we doing our bullets?
Our score? All right. 1 to 6 bullets. Fire.
I'm going 4 out of 6 bullets, and the remaining 2 are going right into Roberto. That's I can tell I was holding on to that for a while. I was like, are we doing the score?
I am also gonna give this 4 out of 6 bullets. I think it is overall, for the most part, like, I was prepared to give this like 2 bullets, but then when everything kind of came full circle and it did all the reveals, and I was like, you tricked me. I thought you were a worse written episode than I thought. You got me. I was just like, okay, I was really satisfied, but like the whole complete absence of like Roberto and Meryl like not like being established at all, like as still alive, was like, that's a really big point for me, because that's just like, come the fuck on. How do you fuck that up?
That's a really important thing to establish. I'm surprised I didn't catch it.
Because honestly, like, the way the scene is done, it wasn't until like the epilogue where they're all eating, and I was just like, wait, I must have missed that, right? Because where the fuck did they come from? Because I thought, like, they were gonna split the thing open, and then like Meryl and Roberto were gonna be like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, that's the only thing
like,
we needed.
You're still alive.
That's all we needed, was that one little scene, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, but no, we just hard cut, and they're already like, it's like they just don't want to like do certain scenes, and I don't understand why. So yeah, that's a big mark against it. And also, every fucking time Roberto opens his goddamn motherfucking mouth, like, please just drink yourself to death, you motherfucker. Because this would have been, like, on the surface, this is mostly a 5 out of 6 for me. But that big old gaping hole in, like, the narrative of, you guys didn't fill in this plot point, as well as every time Roberto says any goddamn thing, it's a 4 out of 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same boat of, it's like that, just a bunch of the little things, a bunch of like Roberto. And also, I know last time I gave like the score of 5.5, it's like this one didn't have the big hype moment that the last episode did.
It didn't.
So, and that's fine, but that's like one of those things of like that big hype moment from the last episode was
It carried that fucking episode.
so that's what got me like to give that a higher score, and that's why this one's kind of lower, because it's like, yeah, it's a good episode, pretty good. Really, just it just highlighted a thing I don't like about this whole reimagining so far, and that thing starts with an R.
Oh
Man.
God, yeah. Fuck Roberto. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Join us next time for Fuck Roberto the podcast. Bye.
I'll bet Vash can fix him.
No, see, like we just need Wolfwood to just give him a real good deep dicking. I mean, make sandwiches.